The barbell deadlift versus the barbell Romanian deadlift. Let's cover some major differences as to why and when you would use each. So the first difference to discuss between these movements is how they are physically performed. So the barbell deadlift is going to start from the ground in a dead stop position, and then you're going to lift that weight to start your range of motion. So in the deadlift, you're going to start with a concentric focused part of the movement, which is the lifting part, and then you'll set that weight back down. In the barbell Romanian deadlift, you're gonna be locked out with that weight, and then you're gonna start from the top. So you're gonna start with a lowering portion of the movement, lower, 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 till you hit your end range of motion, and then stand back up. You are never physically hitting the weight on the ground with a Romanian deadlift. So the first major difference is the barbell deadlift starts from the ground and works its way up, and the Romanian deadlift starts from the top and works its way down. The second major difference is the intention of each of these movements. So with the barbell deadlift, typically you will perform them for relative and top end strength. You can typically load a deadlift a little bit heavier than an RDL. Now the RDL is yes going to focus on strength, but it's generally used for both hypertrophy and building up strength of the posterior muscles. We're not going to have as many muscles working in the Romanian deadlift that we will with the deadlift, and so it can be a great exercise for focusing on the posterior muscles, which takes us into our third major difference, which is the muscles worked. So with the deadlift, since you're starting your range of motion from the ground, you're gonna have a lot of quad to help extend the knee, and then you're gonna have a lot of posterior musculature kicking in to help lock out this weight. So it's gonna be a really great full body movement in the context of the demands it's gonna require from the muscles. You're gonna have a lot of quad, a lot of hamstring, a lot of glute, and you're also gonna have the torso muscles helping to stabilize that weight and allow you to lift it in a nice clean bar path or nice balanced range of motion. Now with the RDL, it's gonna be a lot more isolated. So obviously you're gonna have a lot of muscles working with the Romanian deadlift as well, but because we are starting at the top end range of motion and our main focus is on this nice deep hip hinge here, we're gonna have a lot of hamstring and glute. So this is gonna be a much more posterior muscle focused biased movement. So this means the muscles on the back of the body. So we're gonna be lengthening that hamstring and the glutes to a slightly larger degree than what we would get in the deadlift. So it can be a really nice tool for building up the posterior muscles and isolating them a little bit more, hence why we will make a little bit more of a hypertrophy focus with the RDL compared to the barbell deadlift. All right, so now let's quickly talk about when you would want to use each of these movements in your programming based on your goals, and I'm gonna try to keep this as simple as possible. So if your goal is to build a nice foundational base of muscle and you're just starting out your gym and your lifting journey, the deadlift can be an awesome option. You're gonna train the body a little bit more in full, and you could typically load them a little bit heavier. So as a beginner, you can typically get a little bit more of a strength benefit from a deadlift. If your goal is building up your just overall top end pulling strength, so how much you can physically lift from the ground, the deadlift is also going to be your go-to pick. And then obviously adding in accessories to assist that deadlift strength as you build into it. If your goal is training the posterior muscles like the hamstrings and glutes a little bit more in isolation, and that is your main goal of training, so a little bit more hypertrophy focused with the posterior muscles, the RDL is going to be your go-to. You can train those muscles a little bit more in isolation, and you'll typically have a little bit less overall fatigue when opting for the RDL in that context. And then if your goal is to improve your hip hinge and just train your hip hinge while maintaining heavier weights, the RDL can also be a great option. There are a lot of different RDL variations out there. Typically though, the barbell RDL will be awesome for getting a little bit heavier with your hip hinge mechanics and how you are physically executing them. But generally those will be the big four scenarios as to when you might want to swap in a barbell deadlift versus a Romanian deadlift. Hopefully those helped you out. If you have additional questions there though, hit me in the comments below. All right, y'all, hopefully this video helped you understand some of the major differences between the barbell deadlift and the barbell Romanian deadlift. To be quite honest, everybody I think should perform both, just in different ways based on your goals. And so if you have additional questions on that and how you should program them based on what you are trying to achieve in the gym, feel free to drop a comment down below and I'll help you out, or reach out to me personally on Instagram if you prefer that, at Jake_Bully. But as always guys, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.